Today we are discussing the second ARC report. The topic is flexibility in structure. The tiers of local government should be left for the state legislature to decide. Even larger states with generally smaller habits mostly want to treat a group of villages as the polling unit of a local government on the pattern of countries in the West. In such a case, again, intermediate panchayats may be redundant. Members of parliament and state legislature should not become members of local bodies. This would endow the local bodies with decision making capabilities. States should be free to decide the composition of panchayats and the manner of election to suit their local conditions best. However, the Commission is of the view that in the state which opt for indirect membership of intermediate panchayat and district panchayat, whereby the chairperson of the lower tier became member of higher tiers and there are no directly elected members, it is desirable to have the chairperson directly elected. In other words, in each tier, either the members or the chairperson should be directly elected so that the population will get proper representation. The isolation of rural local governments from urban local governments has resulted in several unhappy consequences. First, there is an artificial divide between the rural and urban population, even in matters relating to the common needs and aspirations. For instance, healthcare and education are the basic public servants and that should be available to all categories everywhere. Segmentation of these services is neither desirable nor feasible because there is a hierarchy of institutions, each feeding into the other, and the geographical location of an institution, say district hospital, does not mean it caters to only the urban population in the district town. In a rapidly urbanizing society, the boundaries between rural and urban territories keep shifting. In time, the population served by rural local governments will shrink quite significantly. In fact, the peri-urban areas around fast-growing cities have hybrid characteristics of both village and town, and their special needs must to be addressed in an integrated manner. Further, the obvious need for coordination between rural and urban local governments at the district level gave rise to artificial institutions like district planning boards and district development review committees in the pre-1993 era. This is now sanctified in the constitution by the creation of DPC, District Planning Committee, under Article 243 ZD. Finally, in the public eye, there is no single undivided local government representing all sections at the district level. The districts are over 2 centuries old and have come into their own as vibrant political, cultural, economic, and administrative entities, with each having its own distinctive characteristics. Despite this, the artificial rural and urban separation meant that the people continue to view the Jilla Parishad or the municipality as just another body and embodiment not the embodiment of the district in political terms. Not surprisingly, in most states, the district collector continues to remain the real symbol of authority in the district. The DPCs prescribed in Article 243 ZD are too weak and non-starters in many states. Therefore, the Commission is of the considered view that there must be a single elected district council with representatives from all rural and urban areas that will function as a true local government for the entire district. In such a scheme, the district council will be responsible for all the local functions, including those listed for them in the 11th and 12th schedule. The DPC in the present form will be redundant once a district council comes into existence as envisaged by commission. Planning for the whole district, urban and rural, will become an integral part of the district council's responsibility. The role of the district collector or district magistrate also needs to be reviewed in the context of the district council and the district government. There are two broad views that have emerged over the years on this issue. Strong advocates of local government's empowerment argued that the district collector's institution is redundant in a democratic milieu with empowered and effective local governments and should therefore be dispensed with pragmatists Pragmatists argue that the collector's institution served the country well for some 2 centuries and has been the pillar for stability and order in a diverse and turbulent society. Pragmatists argue that the collector's institution served the country well for some two centuries and has been the pillar of stability and order in a diverse and turbulent society. Therefore, the institution of district collector must remain in the current form for some more time. Eventually, the district council should have its own chief officer. Meanwhile, as an interim mechanism, there is a merit in utilizing the strength of the collector's institution to empower local governments. The Commission is of the considered view that a golden mean between the two positions is desirable and the district government must be empowered while fully utilizing the institutional strength of the district collector. The Commission believes that these two objectives can be realized by making the district collector functions as the chief officer of the district council. In such a case, the collector's appointment should be in consultation with the district council, the district collector come the chief officer. The district collector come the chief officer would have dual responsibility and would be fully accountable to the elected district government on all local matters and to the state government on all regulatory matters not delegated to the district government.